welcome everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on what time zone you're joining us today. We're so glad that you're with us. Very pleased to present this press conference, this presentation for everyone to be able to learn more about this great program. My name is Kate Sell. I'm with Mission Advancement Partners, and we have had the privilege of working with the Center for Faith and Culture at the University of St. Thomas in Houston to help promote this amazing new certificate and to really bring this to the forefront in the conversation in the church about these issues. And without further ado, I just want to bring on Kevin Stewart, who is the director of the Center for Faith and Culture at the University of St. Thomas, and he's going to get things going this morning.
Thank you, Kate. It's a great pleasure to be here today with all of you. We're really excited by the tremendous interest in this today. And I think you'll see that this first of its kind program out there is really meeting a very particular need in a very powerful way. And I'm excited to go through the presentation with everyone, just a bit about the Nesti Center for Faith and Culture. In the most succinct way possible, we exist to bring the gospel to the moment, particularly the moment in American culture. So to look at American culture through that gospel lens, to see it in a different way. And I think given that description of the center, it's probably immediately obvious why what we're talking about today has such a natural fit with the way that we operate and what we focus on. And I think that will become even more clear. Just to go through a bit of what will be covered today, we'll start with an introduction to the certificate itself, the graduate certificate in sexuality and gender. We will meet some of the faculty members, go through the benefits of the certificate, so what you can expect to get out of it, a few more program details just to get more depth there, and then finally look at how to learn more, how to apply, how to enroll and get started on this journey. And so with that, I want to turn it over to one of the main folks behind all of this. We were really excited last year to bring on Leah Jacobson to the staff of the center. Leah will be the point person for the program, so it's fitting that she will be the point person for most of the rest of our meeting today. She has tremendous qualifications. She is exactly the right person to lead this effort because of what she knows, because of her experience, and also because of her heart for all of the people that these issues touch. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Leah.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I want to welcome everybody that's here today on International Women's Day. It's a special day for us to launch this program, and I think that you are going to be excited to meet some of the women that are behind this program. I come from a background in campus ministry. I work in women's healthcare as a board-certified lactation consultant, and I wrote a book on identity and really the crisis that many women are facing, due in many parts to the feminist movement and the women's movement. But just this program that we're working on here, it's something that can be very healing. And so I'm honored to be working on this with Kevin, and I'm so grateful that it found a home at the Center for Faith and Culture at St. Thomas. And one second here, I'm just adding a couple more people into this. There's so many people coming to this call today. It's actually kind of overwhelming. So we're really just very pleased with the response of everybody wanting to learn more about this, because you all know what we know is that there is a need. Kevin, I'm hoping that you're still available to talk with me a little bit about this, because when you and I met last fall and first started talking about this program, we were conceptualizing what this program is. Really, is it needed? And then is this an academic gap in the marketplace? And so I just want to have a little bit of a conversation with you about, first of all, let's start, I guess, with why did you feel the need for the Center for Faith and Culture to bring this program forward?
Yeah, thanks, Leah. So Leah mentioned that she was previously a campus minister, and I was previously the headmaster of a Catholic school. And in that role, I experienced what a lot of our frontline personnel experience, which is a sort of nagging fear every day of, is today the day that these issues cross our threshold? And are we prepared as a whole staff? Because you never know where it will come initially, the initial point of contact. Are we prepared to deal with this issue in truth and in charity and with compassion? And so I think it is that need that was strongly felt even personally, and it gives me a way to understand the need that many others throughout the country, throughout the church, in similar situations, whether they are pastors of a parish, superintendents of an office of Catholic schools, nurses in a Catholic hospital, but frontline workers in various fields, various professional fields, who will come into contact with these issues and who need to be prepared, both in a sense of knowledge, what they need to know in order to proceed and do it well, and also helping them with the right sort of rhetorical frame, how to approach the people who are really touched by and hurting from these issues. And so that was really the driving sense of need for the genesis of this program.
Well, and I thought it was such a marvelous fit when I got to know the Center for Faith and Culture at St. Thomas. So I'm actually in northern Minnesota. I'm in the Duluth Diocese, so I'm in the northern part of the country. And I wasn't super familiar with St. Thomas and Houston until this last year. And I've just been so blessed to get to know this university. We have a different St. Thomas in Minnesota, which is fine. It's lovely. But I think the primary difference is that St. Thomas in Houston and the Center for Faith and Culture really are cutting edge schools on it, or it's bringing cutting edge education to students within the safety, I guess, of the church's teachings, being faithful to the magisterium, being a Newman Guide approved school. I think that this creates such a different sense of security for students that really want to explore these issues and talk about them and learn about them and ask honest questions. That has been just so refreshing for me to be able to talk about these issues, knowing that I'm going to be understood in a faithful Catholic context. I just find it really exciting that we get the opportunity to do this, Kevin. This is really fun work.
It is, and it's important. I mean, you mentioned you asked the question, what academic gap does it fill? And I really think it's that intersection of faith and reason, that combination of philosophy, theology, science, social science, and then the application. So it's that sort of 360-degree approach that's really needed with these issues, and that's really our niche here.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we should probably get into this. Actually, what is this certificate? What does it all entail? I think probably the best way for us to do this is to just share. This is the catalog listing currently. It's up. It's able to be applied for. You guys can log on and apply, and this is what you're going to see. It's a 4-course sequence. It is graduate level. Which I think is important for us to highlight, Kevin, don't you think, that this is an intellectual undertaking. This is not something that you just get a quick certificate in for the fun of it. If you're going to, apply for and do this program, it's because you are really wanting to learn and contribute to the conversation culturally on these issues in a very informed and educated way. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. It's important that it's at a graduate level because these issues are obviously very culturally sensitive. They tend to produce more heat than light. So if we're going to be about the business of producing more light than heat, carrying on the conversation at a very high level will be essential to that. And having these pitched at a graduate level best facilitates that.
Yeah, so there's one difference that you'll notice. We're going to actually go through each of these courses here, just a quick course description and some of the objectives, and we'll go through them quickly, and then we can share the slide deck with anyone after the presentation that wants to know a little bit more about the actual details of the courses. Something to note, though, is that we actually reversed the order of these first 2 classes because it was made clear to us that the human person, body and soul, that this is where it all begins, that this is the key starting point for all of us to begin in these conversations, is a very deep understanding of how God made us and how deeply beloved we are, and that we're not mistakes. The Creator does not make mistakes. So as we go through this, the first course in the sequence actually will be 5331 will come before 5330, just for the fun of it. So we'll go into these courses a little bit now. So like I said, the human person will be our first course in the sequence. We are focusing here on, metaphysics, anthropology, just the beauty of being created, rational beings in God's image and likeness. You can see here, we've got some really great objectives for this course. This will begin in the fall of 2024. And we're going to introduce our professor for this after this. We'll just kind of go through these very quickly. This one right here, I'm very excited about. History of Sex and Gender. Again, another fantastic professor. I'm kind of saving the professors' names here until the end because they're kind of a big, exciting reveal. Nobody knows yet who's teaching these courses. Like some of the information's been leaking out there kind of slowly, but this has been good stuff. Getting to talk with these amazing women, and the courses that they're going to teach has been a lot of fun for me, actually. You can see here that this is really that deep dive into the history of how we got where we're at, which is important for us to have that context and understanding. This course right here, this third course in the sequence, is the science and social science of sexuality and gender. And I cannot wait to talk with this professor a little bit more about this topic, because she holds a strong opinion that there's been a hijacking of the science and that we really need to talk about this, and we need to take a critical look, a scientific look at how these issues are affecting human flourishing at this time. The questions of nature and nurture, all these things are very important for us to really sit with and analyze and evaluate to see if this is working. Is this ideology working for us right now? And then the final course in the sequence of this certificate program is also kind of exciting. You see at the bottom that this actually culminates with a 5-day in-person experience at UST. And that is something I'm very excited about personally, that this course will end with a gathering where we get to share and present everything that we've learned in the previous 3 courses, how it applies to our vocational setting. Whether you're coming in here as a nurse or a Catholic school principal or a campus minister, this content is going to affect the way that you speak about this differently. And so this will be a chance for us to kind of get up and practice a little bit, and for us to really make sure that those who are receiving this certificate from UST are prepared, are at the highest level to speak charitably and truthfully to the culture in a way that's invitational, because this is really good news. We have really good news in the teachings of the Catholic Church, and we want to make sure that everyone who receives this certificate knows how to practically apply this information.
And let me just jump in to add that as may be clear implicitly, but let's make it expressed, that apart from the 5-day in-person experience, all the rest of these courses are synchronous online. So you can take them from wherever you are.
Yep. Yeah, so that's our chance at the very end to finally meet the people that you've been journeying with for a year. You'll get to know them and see them in the flesh. Okay. So if this is sounding somewhat interesting to you, here's a couple more points for you to just consider. We are going to introduce you to some of your expert faculty in just a second, but you are going to get to learn from some of the best minds in the country on this, because this is a synchronous learning experience, because it's online. That also doesn't limit where our faculty are going to come from. And so they are coming from all over the country, and we're very excited with who has committed to teaching these courses. Can't wait to introduce them to you in just a moment. By the end of this program, though, you should be able to clearly and charitably articulate the truth about sexuality and gender. We hope that this will help you to gain that confidence for really difficult dialogues. Like Kevin mentioned, my past was in campus ministry at a large secular state school in Minnesota, and they had a very strong women and gender studies program that was bringing a lot of confusion to the student body, and especially Catholic students. And those conversations were hard. I know that I would have really appreciated having the guidance of a faithful Catholic institute, giving me the words, helping me, training me, raising me up as a campus minister to have those conversations. The credits do count towards the MA program that is currently offered from the Center for Faith and Culture, which is an MA in Faith and Culture. And we have the program director, Marian, is actually here on this call. So if anyone has any questions about that MA program, don't hesitate to stick them in the chat. We would love to hear your questions. These credits will count. So you take these 4 classes, you get 12 credits, and you're on your way to an MA. It's very exciting. All right, now is the moment. We're going to introduce you to some faculty members, which I hope they're here. So if these faculty members wouldn't mind unmuting themselves and turning their cameras on, we're going to just do a very brief introduction to each of them. And I'm actually going to start with Miss Erica, because I know she is traveling and speaking at an event and has a limited time frame with us today. I know she has to hop off sooner than later. So Erica, would you mind doing a quick introduction of yourself and just tell us about, why you're excited to join this program?
Sure. Thanks so much, Leah and Kevin. I am just thrilled about what you have all brought together. I've long thought it was a major lost opportunity at Catholic colleges and universities. They're basically rehashing secular gender studies programs and not really mining the great riches of the church and our philosophical tradition. So to introduce myself, I am a legal scholar at the Ethics and Public Policy Center, also at the Abigail Adams Institute, and I work at the intersection of constitutional law, political theory, and Catholic social and sexual teaching. Hopefully you've heard of a collection of essays I published in 2010 called Women, Sex, and the Church, A Case for Catholic Teaching. And then more recently, I've published the monograph, The Rights of Women Reclaiming a Lost Vision, which is an intellectual history of the cause of women's rights. Which actually, I should say, excited that it was a finalist in the Intercollegiate Studies Institute's Conservative Book of the Year Award and has been widely reviewed positively. So really excited for that. And I've designed a course based on a lot of the research for that book, designed and co-teach a course with Angela Franks, a metaphysician at Harvard each summer for the Abigail Adams Institute. And it was called Man, Woman, Body, Soul in the Western tradition. Now it's called Theorizing Man and Woman from Plato to Judith Butler. And, teaching that course has really laid the groundwork for the course I'll be teaching here for St. Thomas. I also want to just say I'm the proud founder of a burgeoning Catholic classical school in Natick, Massachusetts, happily married for 23 years and the mom of 7 children ages 22 to 5.
That is so excellent. And I have to say congratulations on the accolades for your most recent book. It is excellent. It is well-deserved. You did fantastic work with that, Erica. Thank you. I'm going to introduce Amy and then Eileen, and then we will we'll finish up and do some questions and answers. So Amy Hamilton, would you mind? Oh, there you are. I see you.
Hi.
Please introduce yourself.
Hi. Am I?
Yep, I hear you. You're here. I hear
everyone
you.
Hear me? Okay, great. It's an honor to be asked to participate in this. I too am just rejoicing because talk about a gap and a lost opportunity. And I feel like the secular science has been hijacked and is really largely informing much of the conversation of the church. Why is this so? And especially when we know there's an ideological agenda behind that. How do I know that personally? Well, from my doctoral days, I was a dissertation fellow for the Social Science Research Council Sexuality Research Fellowship Program in the early 2000s. And that program itself was created in response to a conservative versus liberal political battle about the funding of sex research. And so the Ford Foundation stepped in and the Social Science Research Council created this program to fund doctoral dissertations and further sex research. And so I got an insider's glance of the ideological motivations and just the worldview clashes that were animating much of the research that is now being used to inform and chasten, I would even say, the church in the public square. And so that was 20 years ago from my dissertation days. And then I took a long break as I married and had children. But now for the last 5 years, I've actually been a research associate at the University of Texas at Austin. And this, I swim in this all day long for my work, the science of sex and gender. And the way the studies are being used, I contribute to amicus briefs for religious liberty cases and expert witness reports, really examining the claims that are being made to try to create a culture shift. And the culture shift has already happened. The church has very good news. And so we have to learn to, use that voice in the public square to refute what is really a misuse of science to honestly, if you actually examine the headlines and you examine the studies, they don't even say what they claim. So I just want to be able to do a deep dive, and it's a privilege to be able to share all the riches of the stuff that I've learned. This is a great way to steward that. I can't wait to participate.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy. I'm gonna see if Eileen's available. I know
Yeah,
she's
I'm
here
here.
today with kids. Oh, there we go. We see a little one
Got my
there.
baby here. It's
Perfect
great
for
to
today.
meet all of you, and I'm also very excited to be a part of this. I've also thought for a long time we need to have a Catholic Women's Studies program. So this is a really exciting start. And yeah, my background, I just finished my PhD in the last year at Teachers College, Columbia, in philosophy and education. And all of my research is on Catholic high schools, and specifically how we are working to teach students the idea, like the human person, and specifically how that's shaping women, young women, to think about their own vocations and to understand themselves as Catholic women. So I'm really excited to be a part of this. And thank you.
Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna very quickly. Eileen mentioned something there that I want to get to. There are a couple questions popping up, which we're going to get to in just a second, but some of them might be answered here with the last few slides. So we're going to go through these really quickly and then see if your question is answered. And if not, we're happy to do that. But really, don't be afraid to think of some questions you might have even for these professors, because they're here with us for a few more minutes. So if you have some really good questions for any of them. This program is available anywhere. We mentioned it's virtual. The cost is a graduate. It's graduate level credits here at St. Thomas are $407 per credit hour. The cadence is flexible pace. You could take longer than a year to complete the course if you needed to, if you wanted to. It has a fall start. The very first class that it begins with is Eileen's class in the fall. And then I've got one more exciting announcement that Eileen had kind of mentioned there. This is actually the kind of precursor. This is a little bit of a sampler platter to a bigger program, which we're so thrilled to announce was just approved this last week here internally at the University of St. Thomas, which is a master's program in Catholic Women's and Gender Studies. So on this International Women's Day, we want to be the first to share with you our exciting news that the Catholic Church has some exciting things to say about women's roles in society and culture, and has a lot of beautiful truth about gender and identity. And so we invite you to consider enrolling with us for a master's in Catholic Women and Gender Studies. If you are interested in applying really quickly, you can just go to the website and there's a nice yellow button right there at the top that says apply, and it'll start the process for you to get applied to the program. And then now this is the fun part. We are going to jump over to Q&A, and I'm going to kind of just open this up for any questions. Kate, did you have any questions in the chat? I cannot see the chat, so I'm going to ask Kate Sell if you're here.
Yes, there are a couple of questions. One question that just popped up was if someone does the certificate program, do those classes and credits count towards the master's?
Oh, that is really good news, because yes, they do. We'll do a separate, at some point, we'll do a separate announcement to really explain the master's program, because it is a very exciting structure. But this, the degree plan is not yet out yet for the women's master's program, women's studies, but these are all classes within the master's, yes.
And you would be almost halfway there. You'd be at 12 hours for a 30-hour master's. So you'd be almost halfway there.
Very good question, though. 1 second.
Okay, great clarification. Does the program have to be completed within a certain period of time? I know you already addressed that, but it was in the chat, so I want to make sure we answer.
Here I want to emphasize, if it's okay, Leah, yes, that we designed this for working professionals, and we are all working professionals, so we know what your life is like. And so we anticipate that people will be taking one course at a time. And so it's designed and will be structured and scheduled in such a way that we can get people through in a year if they want. But it's also okay to take longer. Listen, we understand there are seasons of life that make it difficult to keep things going at the pace that you wish you could. And so if it needs to take a little bit longer, that's okay too. So we really wanted to have maximum flexibility so that we have the minimum bar for people to participate, because we really want people to be able to do this.
All right, thank you. Are there any prerequisites for the program in order to apply?
You do need to have a bachelor's degree.
Yes.
So it's at the graduate level. So you will need to have a bachelor's degree. But aside from that, no other prerequisites.
Okay, next question was, can you share the degree plan?
The degree plan for this certificate program was the slide that I had shared earlier, where it just showed those 4 courses. That's all this certificate program is 4 courses. The entire MA degree plan is not yet out. I am excited to share that one though, because it is kind of a unique format, and there are kind of 3 distinct sections for it to really hit the 3 main professionals that we foresee being interested in that, those being in Catholic feminism, those interested in feminism and the study of that, those in women's healthcare and wellness, and then those in public policy and family policy. So we're really hitting 3 distinct areas within the master's program. Kevin and I have kind of affectionately been calling this sexuality and gender certificate the sampler platter. We've been saying it's kind of a smattering from these other certificates, these other sections of the MA program. This gives you a little bit of a sample, and we hope that you love it. We hope that you take the sexuality and gender, that you apply for the program, that you earn that certificate, and that you say, this is worth learning more. I want to learn the whole thing.
All right, next question. Is the whole program online, including testing and term papers?
Yes. Yes, you'll be able to complete this entire program from the comfort of your home, with the exception of the final course. The very final course, it has an in-person element to it at the University of St. Thomas. And that would be your final presentation of how this applies to your vocational setting.
Okay, next question. If a person goes on to the master's program, what other topics are potentially covered in the rest of the program?
Well, we dig a little deeper into Catholic feminism, which is why it's so exciting to have Erica here, because that's kind of her specialty. She's going to be featured in that first part of the program, talking about the history of the women's movement and its effects on sexuality and gender as it evolves. We will be talking a lot more about women's health care, which is my background. So I'm personally very excited for that unit, because we are embodied beings. We have different bodies. And so for us to focus on the care of women's bodies, the authentic reproductive care and care throughout our life cycle, that's important to get this right. To really study women, you have to study the bodies we live in. And then that final section is, like I had mentioned, family and gender policy, how the laws we create either uphold or tear apart our family structures.
Well, we're really excited about this program, as you can tell, and it's the first of its kind, in part because we are walking where others fear to tread. And I think it's a great testament to everyone who's here, all our faculty and all of you, that you're ready, willing, and eager even to dive into these areas. They're really important for where our culture is right now, and it's very important to have people within the church who have a deep understanding and a solid preparation for addressing these issues at that point of contact where those encounters will occur.
So we do have another question. Is the certificate, being part of a women's studies MA, heavily geared towards feminine sex and gender, or does it also include a masculine perspective?
Oh, that's a really, really great question, actually. I would say that this certificate is absolutely applicable to a masculine perspective as well. It's really how the issues of gender and sex are affecting society and the church's teachings on them. I would say it's broader than the MA, the women's studies. MA is going to take a much deeper dive in the Catholic feminism portion of it into women's issues. But even within the MA, quite frankly, even though it's a women's studies MA, I think it's some pretty interesting information that would be helpful to men. I could see men actually really benefiting from the MA program as well. Because every part of women's, health and wellness requires male cooperation and male education. Like we can't rise on our own, man or woman. We really lift one another up. And so I see the relationality of the sexes being an incredibly important element to the success of this program.
Okay, we did have more questions pop up on here. This is great. What Catholic teachings will be implemented in the curriculum and what Catholic texts?
Well, I have a couple of the professors here. Should we ask them?
Yeah, great idea. I don't know which
Amy,
one.
do you have any thoughts?
I can jump into that. I mean, we haven't totally put together the human person syllabus, but I can say right now we'll be reading a lot of Thomas Aquinas on soul and body. We'll be reading John Paul II and probably some Aristotle as well. And Ruth has some opinions about that as well, so I'll mute myself. But that's my first take on that.
As far as my course, it also is not put together, but my course will have less of actual Catholic texts, but what we'll be doing is looking at the social science, but everything will be in with this context of, does this lead to human flourishing? Is this the truth? Does this correspond with natural law? Do you see these effects? How over and over again, we try these experiments to change the order of reality or to go against what God has revealed through natural law, and it doesn't lead to the human flourishing. So I won't have specific Catholic texts that I know of yet. I mean, certainly by Catholic writers, I'll have plenty, but we'll be really examining the social science, but always within that faithfulness to the magisterium and to Catholic tradition and teaching. And so there'll be plenty of, not necessarily entire texts, but plenty of informed Catholic responses and engagement with these issues in my course as well.
I can also jump in because I took Erica's course that she's been teaching for years called Man and Woman, Body and Soul in Western Tradition. And I'm guessing that a lot of her course will have a lot of those same texts. So, I mean, Erica will probably in that course pull on a lot of more secular thinkers and be, helping the conversation between what we've learned about Catholic thinkers and the human person, and then the conversation between. That's my guess. I don't know if Leah, you have more to say on that, but that's my guess.
Well, I think part of the really unique place that this program, the gap in a sense that this program fills, is that we have had, gender studies programs, sexuality programs, women's studies programs that have all come from a secular standpoint. And this allows us to understand the secular, like what they're saying, and then contrast it with the church teaching. We present them side by side and show, is there any overlap? Is there any intersection? Is there any truth to what's being pushed forward in this secular version of feminism, of sexuality, gender ideologies, or anything there? And we get to contrast it with church teachings. And so I think we're going to be going deep into what does the church say about the human person and the experience, and just our deep tradition of male and female interaction with one another. Oh gosh, there are some more questions here. I'm seeing them pop up. This is great.
Yep. So here's the next one. Or how do you see this being influential within the Catholic educational system? This person said they've had a hard time even just getting sexuality education classes at the catechetical level. How do you see this working towards that?
Well, that's a really good point. So I guess the question, first of all, I have, is this within the church's educational system, within the Catholic schools, or the secular schools? Because I actually think that we're going to be equipping teachers across the board. I think that our classes specifically on women's health and wellness are going to include a lot of information about fertility awareness, about women's bodies, cycles, fertility, and that information is applicable anywhere in a Catholic school setting or in a secular school setting, that you can bring the truth of just how the human person was made to anywhere. So I think we're going to be empowering our students with information to bring forward that is scientific, that is factual, that's just the good news. So that's one thought that I have.
This is for Catholic schools. So specifically, how do you see this maybe being integrated or used to bring about these topics within Catholic education?
Well, I would love to see, that's a terrific question. I would love to see each Office of Catholic Schools send at least one person through the program. Sure, it would be great if every principal, every counselor could eventually go through the program, but let's start with one. We'll start with one and work from there. But I think will be very important to them. And I do think there is a strong a strong recognition of the need there, in that these issues, cases, difficulties, and problems continue to happen, and dioceses and school systems are more and more aware every day that they're not fully equipped to handle this.
Particularly in the master's program, I think there is going to be a very strong emphasis on the policy piece of this. And I think that through having really good, deep discussions about just the dignity of the human person, that the policy recommendations that will come back to the institutions and organizations from this program are going to be well-formed and well thought out. And there are a lot of institutions currently that exist without policies around this. So I think that's going to be very influential from this program and undertaking.
Another question here. How about a Hispanic version of these topics?
In Spanish, I mean, I wouldn't rule it out. That would be great.
It may not be just Spanish. I think what the question's asking, a Hispanic version of the topics, meaning maybe these topics as they affect the Latin culture, potentially, or maybe they're asking about Spanish in particular.
If there's strong interest in something like that, I mean, we kind of are guided by kind of market demand here. So if there's strong interest, we wouldn't rule that out for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because I think these issues do hit differently in Hispanic culture. Feminism in Hispanic culture looks differently. The interplay between man and woman, marriage sometimes has a little bit different flavor than other areas of the world. So I think that's a very interesting point. Something that, again, yeah, I hope there is the demand for it, because I think we should be exploring this as a universal church.
I just want to remind everyone that if you registered for today, and you all did because you got the link, you're going to receive the recording from this and a copy of the slide deck. And feel free to pass those on to others. We're wanting as many people to know about this as possible. This is a great need in the church at many levels. And we're really hoping this can be used to equip our Catholic leaders in all facets of the work that they're doing. Leah, any closing remarks from you?
I just want to thank everyone for their time today over the lunch hour. I know for many of you, it's an exciting endeavor that we're undertaking here. And so we ask for all of your prayers. I recognize fully that we just put a big old target on our backs in many ways. Kevin and I have had this conversation of the need for spiritual protection. And so we ask all of you, especially if there's any priests, religious on this call, offer many masses, please, for this program. Help us all to stay in a state of grace. We really hope that we'll get to know some of you in the program, encourage you to apply. I definitely encourage you all to apply and to share this information with others, because like I said, this is really good news, you guys. And we want you to be part of this movement as it grows. So thank you so much for joining us today.